Good afternoon and welcome into the Senate Government Operations Committee meeting of the last Friday of the month, January 30th, 2026. We are going to hear today from the BSEA and a request that we allow folks that are in Group C now to remain there after they become police recruits at the Police Academy. Tom Abelnauer is with us today in place of Steve Howard. And Tom, do you know everybody at the table?
I've met everyone, although I don't. The senator we met very briefly, I think, but I am a fellow son of Orleans County. Tom Abelnauer. I'm originally from Holland, up on built up there.
Farms up there.
There sure are. There sure are. So it's a pleasure to get a chance to meet you formally.
Senator John, Senator
but yes, happy to be here. Vince Aluzzi, also a son of Orleans County, is here. I will say, Mr. Chairman, I apologize before appearing before my favorite committee without a tie. Vince assured me that it was going to be casual Friday, which is why he is in blue jeans. I, of course, took the step of reporting him to the Sergeant at Arms, and hopefully he's been escorted from the building by this point. But it's a pleasure to be back with you today. And as I mentioned, Mr. Chairman, before we began, I intend to keep my testimony very short and sweet. Just to clarify, this is to allow folks who are Group C members. Retirement Group C is the group that is associated with law enforcement officers. Allow Group C members who join the Vermont Police Academy as staff. So that would be, working to help train police recruits there, to retain their Group C retirement status. As it stands, folks who are in Group C who took one of those positions would potentially have to leave their Group C membership behind. And this really, I think, creates two problems or two issues that we want to address. We are hopeful that when we are sending folks to the Vermont Police Academy, they're getting the best training they can receive from the most experienced trainers with deep ties to the law enforcement community, knowledgeable, who spent their careers doing that work. And at the moment, if folks are required to give up their Group C membership with the staffing issues that are occurring throughout law enforcement, both here and around the country, it creates significant disincentive for those folks with the most experience to take a position working with the police.
So they go to Group F now?
As it stands, they would go to that's correct. That's the status quo. And I will say that when we speak to our members at the BPA, they tell us that they do experience trouble recruiting top level talent with significant experience in law enforcement because of this specific retirement issue. So in an attempt to make sure that those vital positions are being filled and to make sure that folks who have their career in the law enforcement community are able to take this important role to safeguard the operations of the law enforcement community, we think that those folks should be able to retain their Group C membership if they elect to joining as staff.
We'll just pause while maybe we could help Senator.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, I can take it.
Welcome, Senator Clarkson.
I apologize.
It's okay.
I just,
Yeah.
Our life is too full here.
So I had a couple questions, Tom, if I could. Is that the extent of your testimony?
Essentially, Mr. Chairman, yeah, it's a straightforward rationale that our members have brought forward to us. We just think this is a way to make sure that we're getting the best folks for these positions.
If it's $295, is that the bill? Okay.
Well, yeah, it would be a section outside of the current text of 295, but we think it should be included in terms of the sample of retirement changes that would be in Senator Groves.
Okay.
So how many people would be involved in this group?
My understanding is that the current cohort of folks at the Academy is roughly, I believe, 16.
Okay.
That includes positions that are filled in a handful of vacant positions. So it's a smaller folks.
And a cost?
It will be difficult to know because we can't, of course, predict how many of the folks who would be coming in would have this status and would elect to retain their membership in Group C. So, I'm sure JFO could help with an analysis of that, but I will just say that It's one of those things that because it would be dependent upon whether someone's already in Group C when joining would be a little bit tricky to predict.
Because I assume it will put certain pressure on the pension, but maybe not.
I mean, I think ultimately, given the number of folks we're talking about, it would probably be a de minimis amount over the whole scope of those systems.
Okay.
But yes, there would be an additional cost, a cost that we would say is appropriate in order to make sure that we're having the academy function as best it can.
Senator Bielski.
I appreciate the reasoning for this, and my understanding, and do correct me if I'm wrong, because I wasn't here when Group C was created, is that Group C was created to allow for officers, because of the rigor of their jobs and the danger of their job, to retire earlier.
That is, I believe, a part of the rationale. I think the part of the rationale as well is acknowledging, and this is what our members have said to us, the sort of vital and unique role that law enforcement plays in terms of public safety. And so I will say that the folks who are coming in who would be the beneficiaries of this change are folks who have been working in that capacity throughout their careers. And given the current disparity between Group F and Group C, I think our members' concern is that in this new rule where they will be ensuring that the folks who will be performing those duties going forward are getting the best training that they can, that there is a significant disincentive to have them come in.
No, and I appreciate that. But the role of training no longer has those rigors or danger that would be associated with being out in the field, correct?
I would say it's a different scope. I mean, I do think that the training there as an essential aspect of it is quite intensive, and it involves things like use of force training and firearms training. But I will just say, I think the broader priority that we are focused on here and our members have asked us to focus on is ensuring that we're creating a system whereby the people who are out in the public doing this important work are operating in the way that we would hope that they would be operating, because they've received the best training from people with the most experience who will be able to give them the best guidance in terms of how they should be operating in the field.
Okay. Senator White.
Oh, thank you. So maybe you said this and I just didn't hear it. So if you're in Group F, you have a longer amount of time that you have to be in working service to get to retirement.
That's essentially correct.
Yeah. But you don't get a different amount at the end of your retirement, or do you get a different amount?
There are a variety, and we can certainly provide the committee. I don't have it for you at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
But I can provide the committee with a complete breakdown.
You know what?
Of
That'd be great.
all of the differences between the two groups.
Yeah, I know we've,
You guys are way ahead.
yeah, it's,
Yeah.
It's confusing.
I mean, I know that even when we speak to the incredibly well-versed folks at the retirement division, they talk about how nuanced some of the changes between the groups are. So we're happy to provide you guys with a complete breakdown.
yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Senator Morley.
So I'm missing a whole bunch of links here. So why do they come out of Group C to begin with?
They come out of Group C at the moment because as the group is defined currently, it doesn't allow for folks who are in these training roles at the academy at the moment to retain membership. It defines a specific group of people who are eligible, and at the moment, these group of VPA staff who do this work, if they have been in Group C, are required to join Group F. So we're just adjusting that, just to be clear, only for folks who are currently in Group C before they join. So if someone were not in Group C and they joined, they would not get Group C benefits.
Yeah.
Senator Bielski.
Are there any other places where there would be Group C members that would move into a training or more administrative role that stay in Group C?
I don't believe that the way the group is defined at the moment would have folks other than the folks that we're proposing who would be in a pure training role.
So a pure training role for any other Group C member doesn't exist, except in
sorry.
this case.
So like, I'm sorry.
So what I'm trying to understand is if there's other current Group C members that would have the opportunity potentially to move into a training or administrative role and would have to be moved out that are not captured by this bill, are we treating these 12
Sure.
or 15 or however many people differently if we were to do this?
I'm trying to think of other analogous training roles throughout state government that have as a core component of them this law enforcement nature, and I don't believe that there are, you know, which is why our request is limited to this narrow group.
Senator Clark. So. Do you want me to ask my question?
If you
All right,
are,
Senator.
if you are choking.
I was ready to spring.
Oh, thank you. My question is, my understanding is that these trainers often continue to work. They train, but they continue to work.
That is absolutely the case, I think.
So why-
in some instances.
Why are we carving out anything different?
Because I don't know that that's always the case. So we want to ensure that people who are going to be focused purely on their work at the Vermont Police Academy are able to retain this membership.
But almost nobody does that from my understanding is that these are all generally active.
I'm
people
not-
that are also active in law.
I'm not sure about that, Senator. I can certainly try to find out for you what percentage of the folks who are working at the academy in these roles are still actively working as law enforcement officers in other capacity. I don't know the answer to that question.
And my simple question is that any law enforcement officer, certified law enforcement officer in this state, at any point can be called in if necessary to something that's a public safety issue. I don't understand why we have any differences in any of this. Why don't we just have one schedule for all law enforcement officers?
Well, I think the point with regard to this bill is that if someone, I think what we're trying to do is ensure parity between the folks in the law enforcement community to make sure that people who are taking on this role get to be, as you're saying, Senator, a part of that same broader system. That I think is our goal with this change.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is beginning to get just an equitable treatment for all law enforcement officers.
I think that I would say that this
Because
I guess I would say that our members are focused here on trying to produce a specific result, which is ensuring that folks who have worked in law enforcement throughout their career, who take on the important work that I know that this committee and the Judiciary Committee, other committees have recognized, but making sure that our law enforcement officers are receiving the best possible training, don't have to face significant financial disincentive to do so. That, I guess, where our rationale is.
that I appreciate, but that there's any change at all for a law enforcement officer when they can all be put into harm's way at any point. I just don't get why this seems to be a difference without a difference. I mean, all of them can be immediately called up on to be in active duty for a law enforcement incident. It's just I don't know.
I think Senator,
All the same.
yeah, I think Senator, I think we would share that goal. I think our goal is to make sure that these people who are working in the law enforcement community get to have the same retirement status as other folks who are working as law enforcement officers in that same community. That's our goal.
Okay. Senator Bielanski.
If someone were, as Senator Clark is bringing up, working in a training capacity while also continuing to work in active law enforcement, would they also be forced to move out of Group C, or would they be able to stay in Group C because they're still working actively in law enforcement?
As a requirement of Group C, people are required to maintain that certified status. So this would apply to folks working at the academy who would be required as a part of that to maintain their certification.
That was not my question.
Okay.
Senator Clarkson brought up that some people who go on to do training also continue to actively work
Right.
out
Yes.
in the field as law enforcement.
Yes.
Would those people who are still actively working in
Yes.
law enforcement while also training be able to, under current law, be maintained in Group C?
I believe they would. Yes. Yeah. I believe they would.
So the people that we are talking about are not the people Senator Clarkson is talking about who are doing both. It is only the people who are now no longer actively doing on the street law enforcement are only doing this training.
Oh,
Correct.
I assume that from the word retirement when we got the first request. It says a request to allow retirement Group C law enforcement officers to remain in Group C after becoming police recruit trainers. So I interpreted that to mean that they are not actively still working.
Oh, that they're
Yeah.
retired?
That they're retired.
The goal is to ensure that nobody is falling through the cracks by taking and focusing on a position at the Vermont Police Academy. So regardless of your other duties elsewhere, if you are a Group C member under the change we're asking for, if you're a Group C member who's working at the Vermont Police Academy, we want to ensure that regardless of their other participation in other law enforcement activities, that they would be able to be eligible to be a Group C.
That seems to imply that they'd still be active.
Well, they would be required to retain their certification, yes. But you could retain your certification and be at VPA, focusing on your training role. And those are the folks we're trying to make sure are part of it.
I have to admit, I'm a little confused.
Okay.
Well, are we talking about active? I mean, are we talking about changing retirement plans for active people? Or are we talking about retired people who are coming back in and we don't want to affect their?
I think there's a confusion around the phrase, the fact that we're talking about retirement Group C. We're talking about folks who, as let's say today, someone were working as a game warden. And they are, because of that current position, a member of Group C. They want to apply for a position in the Vermont Police Academy as a trainer.
Okay.
They accept that position and they focus on that. That is their new job. That is what they are doing for employment now, is working as a trainer at the Vermont Police Academy.
After they've retired from active duty.
After they have left their position as a game warden and are taking this new job, they would be able to retain their Group C status. That's the change we're requesting.
Okay.
It's not so much about retiring from that other position,
Oh.
being able to move from another law enforcement position where you have Group C status to one of these training positions at VPA. And as a result, retain your status as a Group C member.
And to get to Senator White's earlier question, I think, one of the differences between the two group requirements is, besides probably benefits, I assume that's why there's a disincentive, as the length of service. And I think Group F is 30 years.
Yeah.
And Group C is 20.
A Group C includes a mandatory retirement component at a certain age. So that is, I guess, the other primary difference, Mr. Chairman, which is one of the reasons why certification would still be.
Yeah.
I thought they both had retirement ages required.
Group F does not have a retirement age.
I thought all law enforcement officers had to retire it, or state troopers at 55.
Well, to be clear, though, law enforcement folks are members of Group C. So there are currently, at the moment, no, as far as I'm aware, no certified law enforcement officers, to your point, Senator, who are not members of Group C.
Yeah.
So that's why they all have to retire at that mandatory retirement age. Not because they're in Group F, because they're not.
Yeah, I just think the confusion came from.
Possibly.
That's right. Right.
I'm thinking, okay, a potential law enforcement officer is 63, wants to become a teacher.
Yes.
And
Right, that's what I was.
Well, and just to be clear, Mr. Chairman, if they are a Group C member and they want to take that on and they're coming, they would be able to retain that Group C status.
Right, okay.
Yes. But I guess the point is that just in general, somebody who's currently working as a law enforcement officer and has Group C status, if they want to transfer to the police academy, take on this new role working as a trainer, we want to make sure that they're not financially disincentivized. So that they'd be able to keep that set of retirement benefits.
And I'm sorry for so many questions.
No, it's fine.
Do you have any idea why Group F was ever set up? It seems like, to
No one
Senator
wants-
Clarkson's point, if you're in law enforcement, it should be a C forever.
Well, so just to be clear, Group F is I caution a little bit to describe it this way. But the way the retirement system is structured by and large is that there are a handful of groups, special groups that have their own retirement group. I guess an example of this off the top of my head, I believe is correct. I believe either Group A or Group B is judges, for example. Group C is law enforcement. Group G is the group that was created by this committee and other folks a couple of years ago, which Senator Bihofsky's bill will be addressing. And Group F, as it stands, is sort of, for lack of a better way to describe it, the none of the above retirement group. It's the broad retirement classification that the vast majority of VSEA members are a part of. So everybody from the folks upstairs in this building who are working for BGS, to folks who currently are working as social workers, to someone working in the state librarian's office.
Okay.
They are all Group F members. And that at the moment is the status of people working at VPA, unless we make this change, is that they would be in that broad sort of none of the above group.
I think again, in order for us to do our due diligence, we'll have to hear from JFO to find out what the costs are.
Sure.
And what sort of pension pressure it might put.
And again, of course, it's something that's a bit difficult to calculate because you can't know how many folks will take.
But we're talking about small numbers, right?
We are something like that. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Very small over the course of the entire fund.
Okay.
And none of this impact.
I'm trying to think of
That is our
witnesses we might want to have in on this. Besides JFO, I don't know.
But this Digi,
Who?
well, we have that, the Digi Department of Labor, or, right, human resources.
Human resources.
Oh, she doesn't cover,
Treasurer's office, the pension people.
Okay. Take some notes.
and if you have anyone,
So
Sure.
that's DG and who else?
State treasurer. Or is on.
you
We
don't
have
think
a
we should
pension
show that?
division. I don't know why we would need that.
Yeah, well, don't they oversee the decision? Doesn't human
I
resources
think they do.
help define it?
Well, no, I mean, the retirement groups are Senator, are defined in statute and governed by the treasurer's office.
But she could decide independent of us.
No,
Oh, sure.
my understanding is that there would be a statutory change required to decide who is.
I guess I would like to know their opinion, if they are supportive of this change, but we don't necessarily need her to testify. Folks have any problem.
I just wasn't sure. I don't have a problem with it. I just wasn't sure why.
Oh,
Yes.
Given our general frustration with cliffs at this building, it does strike me that we would be interested in eliminating any barriers to workforce advancement or career development that we have created. So it seems like a probable yes, because we would want to enable this career growth or opportunity and reduce the barrier to it.
I appreciate that, Senator. You know,
Very like a cliff.
I guess I would say that our members and our members throughout VSEA and members of the public in Vermont in general right now are talking again and again about how important they think effective public safety is in the state. And we're just trying to make sure that the folks who are responsible for making sure that our law enforcement officers are receiving the absolute best training that they can are being drawn from the pools of folks with the most experience, with the most knowledge, with the most time doing this work, and that we're able to draw those folks in rather than have them have to pursue something elsewhere because of a retirement change.
Do you have any idea, Tom, how many teachers, for lack of a better trainers, there are now? Like how big is a class? Is it 35, 40 potential law enforcement?
That's a good question, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry. I don't know what a typical incoming class is. I do think it varies. I mean, I know, for example, I'm a little bit more familiar with the varying numbers at the Corrections Academy, and those really do vary during recruitment cycles from time to time. So how many folks are being taught at any given time? I'm not sure, but we can of course find out.
I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if that were correct, Senator, but I would want to give you guys the correct figures.
Okay, so we'll have you back in for Steve.
Sure.
Somebody. Senator Moreland.
We used to have a hard time years ago getting people in, they'd get trained, and then they'd leave the state.
That's right.
Is that still occurring?
Well, I can tell you, I mean, I think it is still occurring, and it's one of the reasons that we have been trying, not only with this cohort of folks and our law enforcement members, but also with regard to our members in the Department of Corrections, to ensure that the department is taking the steps to address the low staffing levels that are causing such severe mandatory overtime in Newport. I mean, I'm up in Newport. You know, I know you're all too familiar with that situation, Senator. And, you know, I think what we found again and again is that when folks come out of, for example, in this case, the Corrections Academy, they come into a place where they're working routine, mandatory overtime. They're being ordered over regularly. They're working 16-hour shifts at times. The folks coming in fresh out of that academy say, this isn't what I had anticipated or what I had signed up for. And that is a very significant cost for the state. My colleague Adam Norton, our policy analyst, has done some work on what it costs the state for every person that leaves, and I can ask him to follow up.
No, that's fine. I just, it used to be. a
We
big,
should
big
know that.
problem.
Actually, John, you bring up such an important point, because we invest a lot
lot
in
of
training people in all sorts of capacities. I mean, our workforce, we invest millions and millions of
I
dollars.
think
in
it's pretty
workforce.
prevalent though, at one point in time with state police.
Oh, it's a huge challenge.
So that's all the more reason that we want to
No.
make sure that, no, just to agree with you, Senator.
Yeah.
That's all the more reason we want to make sure that the folks who are coming in are getting the best, well-rounded training, so they're understanding what it is they'll be facing in the field and be best prepared to stay and have a long and successful career in the state.
We have a lot of coaching challenges that we address in this.
Okay.
Like the police, the VSP, the Vermont State Police poach from the police departments, where the police departments have paid for all that training.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing problem.
Any other questions for Tom? And we'll have VSEA back, whoever you
Wonderful.
decide to send.
Do we have drafted language? I guess is my only question, because if we're gonna add it to S-295, I'd like to see it.
We'll certainly provide that to the committee.
Okay,
Thanks so much, Mr.
thank you,
Chairman. I appreciate
Stay warm.
it. Thank you. I will be hanging out with you for just a little bit longer to hear your discussion of the next bill. So
If you could give, maybe a 10-minute break right here,
Oh,
would that be
Yeah.
a good idea? And, we'll be back.